Oh, so hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am Ro Nita.
And I am Donnica, and I was raised by her.
I love the name.
I know. It's authentic too, because it's just the truth.
Well, it is the truth.
Yeah.
And I was raised by Rosa, who is represented here by the Rose. So we're going to be talking about life and life lessons and all kind of things going on in the world. So,
what's top of mind for you this week? It's been a crazy week.
Yes, it has been. Been a bit challenging, people, places, and things, but a lot of reflection on September 11th, 24 years ago, and how life changed at that particular time. And I think I was really moved by the various ceremonies that are still going on, which is really nice, in remembrance of the almost 3,000 people who lost their life that day, or some of the
Where were you?
First responders.
Do you remember?
Oh yes. I remember I was driving on my way to an appointment in the morning, and at that particular time, I was the radio station owner and general manager. And my VP of programming called me up, and he said, "Boss, are you watching television?" And I said, "No."
Like, no, I'm driving.
I am driving. And he said, "Okay, we are being attacked." And I said, "We?"
That's tough, because that can mean so many different things. That's very alarmist.
Well, it was. And my first thought was because we're close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah.
He was talking about that, and he said, "No."
Your first thought wasn't, "Oh, there's something going on at the station"?
No. I should
Well, good. Okay, all right, no, good.
And the reason why now that you say that, the reason why I don't think I thought immediately about the station, because normally he would say something about the station and then he would go into what he was doing about it.
Okay, so he had a cadence of communication that you were
Yes,
familiar
absolutely,
with.
because
Gotcha.
a part of his responsibility was to make sure that everything going out on air was something that we would be proud of, or be informative, or to make sure it was correct. So I didn't respond that way, but of course it was in the morning, a little after 8:00.
Oh, you really remember, like, all the things.
Well, yes, because I was on my way to a hair appointment.
Okay.
And I pulled into the driveway, and I sat there, and I turned the radio up, because what he wanted to do was to go straight to ABC News.
That's so old. Do you still listen to the radio, like standard radio?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot. But perhaps if I still owned the company, I would.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, yeah, maybe.
No,
but
because,
I think the nature of the business has changed a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, maybe.
So we switched all of our programming to ABC News, and he wanted to make sure that not only was I comfortable with that, but we would stay on ABC News until we figured out what was going on. So the first plane had hit the tower, and so I went in, had a conversation with my stylist, and then we started watching TV, and it went from bad to worse there. So it was
Wow. That's yeah, I can imagine. I'm trying to think of, like, sitting in the hairdresser, as we do, and
hair is a thing.
Hair is very much a
24
thing.
years ago. Yes.
Yeah. Well, has been a thing, is a thing, will continue
Always
to be a thing.
Yeah, it is.
But then, that's I can only imagine, like, the silence and the focus of the folks in the salon on that when something big is happening and you're getting out of the bowl, or you're sitting under the hair dryer, or you're in the chair getting whatever.
And you're trying to figure out
what's going on.
Because this is happening in real time.
Yeah.
So seeing the second plane hit, watching the towers go down, and just thinking about the lives lost because of what was going on at that particular moment. How old were you?
I can't remember how old I was, but I do remember. Still can't do the math that fast. but I do.
You were young.
I think I was in high school. Like a freshman or sophomore, maybe, because I remember walking down the hallway in my high school, and a friend of mine coming up and asking, had I heard? And I hadn't. And then the school put TVs in, like, the common area.
Okay.
So we could track, and folks were the students were concerned because some of the students' parents worked at Wright-Patt. And so to your point, they didn't know, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So to your point, they didn't know if it was a situation that they needed to be worried about from an Air Force Base perspective or a broader perspective. So that's what I remember. I remember all the TVs coming out, and then I remember my particular friend really kind of freaking out. And my dad worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but I didn't freak out. I was like, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we went from a part of being a music radio station to being an informed news station for an extended period of time. And we just took all of our programming from the network, and then we would have some local news that would come in because our news director was able to then talk a little bit about local perspectives and interview some people who had relatives in New York. Again, at that time, we weren't sure exactly what was happening because other places around the country, you may or may not remember that there was an attack at the Pentagon. They were going there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so this week, just spending a moment of prayer and reflection and actually gratitude as well, because you never know how an emergency, a crisis like that is going to impact your life, but also those that you love and care about. And so we had individuals around us that were impacted and relatives that were impacted, and people lost loved ones. And so it was a time when the country came together in a way that was meaningful and beneficial.
I was going to ask you, how are you feeling about it on the anniversary? But I think you just outlined it for me. You're feeling a number of things, but gratitude being one of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So, and in a world today where we still have a lot of different challenges, it just reminds me that one of the aspects of being an American is the fact that we should be able to not only come together, agree, disagree, have challenges, but at the end of the day, be able to be thankful that God has given us a chance to live another day and to be able to touch someone's life. So I am grateful for that. And that is a Rosa lesson.
Okay.
So, okay. What about you?
What's been going on with me this week?
Yes.
So I did like so many things.
Oh, really? Okay.
But one of the things I did this week is I did a presentation for an organization around emotional intelligence. And so when I was listening to you talk about the impact of 9/11 on you, it had me thinking a little bit about what I had presented on and talked about in the questions that came up during that presentation.
So how are you defining emotional intelligence?
Well, I'm not defining it. I went off of a framework by a psychologist by the name of Daniel Goleman.
Okay.
He graduated from Harvard with his PhD in psychology and was a science writer for the New York Times for many years.
All right.
And he pretty much set the framework for what emotional intelligence looks like in business. And what he said is that there are 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and social skills. And so it's with that framework that we had the conversation and dived deeper into the role that emotional intelligence plays in businesses, in building a team, and how it's not just a soft skill, but it's really a strategic leadership skill that helps drive hard outcomes in your business.
I really like those 5 components, but I think we can also translate that into our real life situations, day-to-day life.
It is absolutely day-to-day life.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So the first one is?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Okay. So when you are self-aware, Donnica, how is it that you feel? How do you present yourself?
Okay. Self-awareness for me shows up on a daily basis as actually, that's a really good question. I'm like, how do I self-acknowledge self-awareness? I just try to make sure I'm incorporating it into whatever I'm doing, so that I'm not just operating out here without any knowledge about the impact of what I'm doing or saying or behaving on others.
I think that's a really good way to be able to realize the importance of self-awareness, because when I think about my own self-awareness in given situations, particularly in my personal life, I really want to make sure I'm being authentically who I am. So the Ro Nita that you see today is the same Ro Nita that you'll see tomorrow, or the Ro Nita that you saw last week. Circumstances may be different, but I want to be able to treat you the same way. I want to be able to acknowledge that I am the same person and you are important to me in this given situation, and I want to be my authentic self. I think that's a part of what self-awareness is all about.
You do a really good job of it from my perspective. I mean, you I would say you have remained consistent over the amount of time that I have known you. Obviously, you've grown, as we all have, in various ways, but some of the core values that you raised me with, I think, are omnipresent.
Yes.
Yeah, which is nice.
Right. Show up and be you.
And something I genuinely appreciate about people.
Well, and I also think that being well prepared wherever you are, what you're going to do in that given space and time is not only respectful in terms of yourself and the people you're around, your friends, your audiences, but also making sure that you're not wasting other folks' time.
Yeah.
So if you're not the real you, then I'm not interested, because
you're not interested in meeting anybody's representative.
Well, I'm not interested in someone who walks around acting one way one day and another way another day, and I have to figure out who's going to show up. I don't want to have to figure out who's going to show up.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
Good. Okay.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. What was the second one?
The second one, self-regulation is the second one.
Now what does self-regulation mean?
So it's the ability to stay grounded when there is a crisis, and it protects trust, it protects relationships. And so the ability to stay grounded and rooted. And so there's a number of different ways that people activate on this. It can be, you can pause, you can meditate, you can go for a walk. Some people vent. What about you? How do you self-regulate?
What came to mind was one of the most challenging times in my life. This is sort of when fear sets in. Okay, fear sets in. And I had mentioned our radio station a little while ago, and I was thinking of the very first time that I had to go out of town to testify before the Federal Communications Commission, to be able to demonstrate to them that I could not only build a new business in our hometown of Dayton, Ohio, but that I could manage and run this new business. And so the FCC was giving out new licenses to, I'll say, worthy candidates for ownership. Long story short, the time that this particular presentation trial, if you will, was set up, you were about 6 months old. And so your grandmother was going to take care of you, my first time being out of town. So I leave to go to a American Women in Radio and Television Conference. I was leaving the conference, going to Washington, D.C. for the FCC communications trial for this new license, and you got sick as a baby. And I remember that fear set in. I'm out of town. I have this very important testimony that I have to be really good at, my authentic self, if you will. And I remember thinking, where are my priorities here? My priorities are with my child. So I said, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let somebody else kind of deal with that. I called my attorney, and he said, no, you have to be here.
No substitutes, a good try. Shift the priorities for a couple hours.
And when you talk about self-regulation, I remember not only deep breathing, but I was talking to my attorney, and he said, you can go immediately following your testimony, but you can't go right now because you've been working towards this for the last 7 years of your life. And at that point, I think the self-regulation was the fact that I am not going to let fear control my life. I am not going to let this opportunity pass me by, because I am well prepared. And I'm going to pray that God takes care of my baby. My parents are there, and my husband was there, so I can kind of let that go. But I had to talk myself into it. So self-talk is one of the areas of self-regulation. So anyway, long story short, I did that. I came home. You were fine by that time.
I was fully healed by the time you got back.
The doctor had done his job, and a few years, later, I got my station, and all is well.
I mean, that's so relatable in terms of pushing past fear.
Yes.
I mean, so many people have to do it in so many different ways, and it's something that I like to try to be self-aware about. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I feel fear, push past it and move forward, because I never want to feel stuck. I always want to feel like I have a variety of options depending on the situation.
Well, you do have a variety of options always. Someone asked me, do I remember the first time, or can I remember the very first time that I was really afraid? And I thought, go back in your childhood and think about that.
That does sound like one of those therapy questions. Yes. Like, now go back in your childhood.
Yes.
Where did this originate?
Because childhood experiences impact your adult life.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
And so the experience that I was able to remember had to do when it was my kindergarten graduation. So that's a long, long time ago. And I had been asked to be the MC of kindergarten graduation. And
as a kindergartner?
As a kindergartner. I've always been.
So that's where your public speaking skills started. I got it now.
Right back, way back then. So, but what was interesting then is I was excited about it, and I came home and I had everything sort of written out that I was supposed to say, and we would practice it because it was graduation way back then. And the day of, I began to get scared, and I told my mother. I said, what if I mess up? And she said, keep
just
going.
The day of?
Well, like that's what I'm remembering.
In your 5-year-old preparation? It didn't hit you until day of?
By that time I was six, But what was interesting is, this is what I remember. I said, Mommy, I don't want to do this now. And she said, yes, you have to. They're depending on you. You have to do this. And Mommy, I'm scared. And she said, you'll do fine. You're prepared. You've been practicing, and you don't want to let your fellow classmates down, and the teacher believes in you, and the principal believes in you, and all of that. So anyway, I got up there and I was talking, and my little mortarboard hat fell off, and I stopped, and I remembered that moment of fear because I didn't know.
Wait, a motorboat hat?
Mortarboard. That's the hat. That's
okay. The graduation hat. That's what they're called. Who knew? I just called it a graduation cap.
Well, that's how they haven't changed all these many years. But anyway, it fell. And I was wondering, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And that's why that memory, because I became fearful.
Yeah.
And
were you able to keep going?
I did.
Of course you did.
Because I remember what my mother said. Everybody's depending on you.
Oh, no pressure.
Well, yeah, it was.
6-year-old.
6-year-old. Yeah, but it was. But what was interesting about that moment of getting beyond the fear has helped me throughout my life. And so sometimes those childhood experiences that you can bring back up are meaningful to you, and sometimes they can stop you, or they can be a challenge. But I just remembered that was the first time I can remember being really, really scared, and yet I got through it.
You can remember all the way back to 6 years old? First
day of school. I can remember too, but I don't remember what my feeling was then. I just remember the very first day of school.
That's like, you take like ginkgo leaf or something, don't you? Like some type of vitamin. I'm like, what was I doing when I was 6? You probably know. I don't know.
Well, what happens, I believe, the older you get, you have an opportunity to just reflect a little bit more, and then meaningful experiences will come to you. Not things that were unimportant. That was a meaningful experience. And because I've been public speaking ever since then.
Yeah, clearly. It was a foundational experience.
It was. And
I
think it was meaningful. So, okay, so that's 2. What's the third one?
Motivation.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you motivate yourself or your team to go beyond the minimum effort?
So what did you say in your presentation about that?
How I motivate I think I probably kick that one back to the audience. I mean, I just kind of feel like the nature of this podcast is not the same folks who are in the room, maybe. But I stay motivated through the impact that I know that I can have on others. I think that's where everything is rooted for me. And if folks were to look at my resume, they're like, "Oh, you've done so many different things." And I was like, "Yes, I've done different things, but if you look, there is a line of continuity through all of it, and that continuity is the impact that I'm able to have on other people."
So, are you motivating yourself, motivating other people, motivating all of the above?
So, impact is what motivates me. I think
impact in terms of what? When you say impact is what motivates, what are you talking about?
Positively impacting community.
Ah, okay. See, that's very specific.
Is it?
Yes. Positively motivating community. So the question becomes, how does one go about positively motivating community?
Well, I mean, it shows up in a lot of different ways. I do it in a lot of different ways. But that's for me personally. To your question about how that affects me as a leader, I think it's a part of leadership and being able to identify what helps motivate others.
Okay.
Because I think it's different for different people.
I agree with you. I also believe that motivation can come from several different sources. Sometimes it comes from seeing the problem and the need to be able to address the problem. Somebody has to do it, so you can volunteer, but you have to motivate yourself then to be able to step out there and be the one who is taking responsibility for helping to move forward and solve the problem.
I think sometimes, but I also wonder if that's like a gendered experience, like this kind of fixer mentality of coming in and always wanting to like fix things.
Yes.
And so for whatever reason, I've been conscious that can be a gendered experience. So I've tried to really intentionally, probably not in my younger years, I don't know that I was paying attention, but certainly more recently, I've been trying to be really intentional about how I spend my time and not making other people's problems my problems. I can come in, I can have a positive impact, I can help. But it's on my own terms in some ways, if you will.
Okay. So when you were a child, I used to wake you up in the morning.
Yeah, tell me why I'm like this.
No, well, I was going to say, I used to wake you up in the morning.
Okay.
Do you know how? Can
you
used
to sing to me.
I would sing to you.
Loudly. Cheerfully.
I'd make up songs. You're absolutely right. I'd sing to you every morning a different song. And you know what I was doing? I was motivating you for the day. Okay. Because whether it was the math test or whether it was a basketball game or whatever was going on in your day, I wanted you to wake up thinking you could handle it. And let me just say, I am terrible when it comes to singing. The Lord blessed me with a pretty good speaking voice, but I can't sing a note. So my poor child had to hear me every single
Well, you didn't just sing in the morning. I mean, this is still in the morning time. You didn't just sing to wake me up. You then also, we had to sing in the car too on the way to school. So there's a lot of songs in the morning.
Yes,
but it worked out. I mean, I like to think that I have, and I think I had more good days than tough days. So I'm going to put this in a net positive.
Right.
And I enjoyed your voice. I mean, I could be biased, having...
You were used to it.
Okay.
I actually started singing to you when you were in my womb.
See, so. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I was trained for it.
I did. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. But my thought was that I wanted you to be motivated for the day, for whatever it is that you had to face. And so, I mean, silly songs, I would just be making up things. But it appeared to me that if you start out your day that way, then this helps you, because when you get to that moment, whatever that challenge might be, you can think, oh, that silly song that mommy said was in my head.
How did you come up with that, though? If singing is not your passion, or
No. There was a child's book at church, at the church that we were going to, and that child's book was called The Little Me and the Big Me.
Oh.
And the little me was the person or the child that was not being positive to himself, herself, or to anyone else around them. The little me was the insecure and or mean child, or somebody that had to handle bullying, whatever that little me thing was. It was something that was deep down inside. And in the book, the big me was the one who could then go out and help, go out and decide that they're going to sometimes be the problem solver, go out and help the other child, whatever it was. And so one of the ways that children can maybe make other children feel good would be through song, because, you learn all those children's songs. And so I thought, I really like this. And you like that book, so I read it to you several times.
I remember the title. I don't remember the content.
Right. Well, and so I thought, that's kind of cool. I think I will just sort of do that.
And you interpreted it into song.
I did.
Okay. I mean, look, whatever works. Clearly it worked.
For you.
For me. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Every child's different.
So anyway, that was a part of the motivation from way back then. So I think it's good. I think for me, it depends on the day, the situation, and the circumstance, whether I'm trying to motivate myself or whether I'm trying to motivate the team, motivate the staff. I've been really blessed to have more talented, really good people working around me. And when we were problem solving, we could problem solve together. And so I was motivated. So I was motivated by the energy and the intelligence and the willingness that people had to just try to make it better.
Yeah.
And so that would spur me on to attempt to not only move in a certain direction, but also to really try to motivate others. And I'll just tell you, our radio station was all about motivating community and bringing people together with big events and special events. So it's pretty cool.
So what about empathy? The ability to understand and value someone else's perspective when it might be different than yours.
One of my favorite leadership books is by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes. It's a good one.
It is a good one. And I gave each of my staff members a copy of that book. Mm-hmm. And in the book, Covey talks about being able to look at the other person's perspective. Empathy being important because when you're going through something, when you're angry, when you're upset, when you just, somebody has not treated you right, the first thing you do is you become defensive.
Sure.
And so there is no empathy that actually comes to mind at that point. But what he says, if you can step back, if you can pause, and you could just for a moment think about it from the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
If you can really emphasize that it's not all about me, it is about we in this situation. Empathy can be discovered to help to move the situation along.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I don't know, it's been a while since I've read that book. But also other people's reactions oftentimes have very little to do with you. And it has much more to do with what's going on in their own lives.
That's true.
It's why folks can be look at the same situation and have totally different reactions to it. And so that's how I remind myself. I'm like, okay, this person's clearly having a reaction. To your point, what's their perspective that I can maybe identify, but maybe not. But it's not about me.
Yes, and one of his other habits is to begin with the end in mind. That's really difficult to do when you're going through a something. But I am communicating with you because I am trying to help you. If you're not really willing to receive that help and assistance, then what you may think is, I'm just trying to get into, or he or she is trying to just get into my business. And yet that's not really what the habit was all about. It is really designed to be able to get people to think about the fact it's not always all about you or the situation that person may be going through, which is what you were talking about. But if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. I'm also not a big fan of unsolicited advice. So
now you have to explain. What does that mean?
You have to be ready to receive, or not ready to receive. You have to, I like it. like it is the wrong terminology. I find conversations to be most meaningful for both sides when someone is asking for help, or somebody's indicating that they want to be a part of a conversation versus this person living their life and some random person coming up to them and shouting their opinions or telling them their opinions about what they're doing. It's like, how'd you get in this? Okay. I'm over here doing my own thing.
But I will tell you, I was at the post office last week and I was standing in line, and a gentleman was already at the counter, and he was sort of standing aside, and he was filling out some paperwork, and he just looked so dejected. And so by the time I got up to the counter, I said, good afternoon. How you doing? And he said, you don't want to know. And I said, oh, sir, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. He said, no, you don't. Because most people really don't care.
Oh.
So I was taken back.
Yeah.
To your point about whether or not you decide to.
But now I want to hear, like, what's the next step? Do you dive in, or you're like, thank you for my post stamps and move along your day?
Mother decides to dive in.
Yes, you do. Yes, I actually already knew the answer to that question. Yeah.
So I said, what's wrong? And he told me that he had pancreatic cancer, that he had divorced his wife several years ago, or they had gotten a divorce, and that she was now taking him back to court. So what he was filling out was some paperwork to send to his attorneys. Lord. He said, I just feel like when I wake up, what else is going to hit me? And I said, well, you're here and you're standing. So maybe when you wake up, you'll feel a little bit better. And maybe the attorney you're sending this paperwork to will be able to help the situation. And what we're going to do is we are going to pray that your wife has some sympathy, maybe some empathy. I didn't say empathy at that time, but some understanding. And so I said, would you like to pray with me? And right then and there in the post office, with the gentleman who was helping clients.
Was there a line behind you?
There were two people. Two people, but they heard.
Yeah, they heard the interaction. Yeah,
and so we said a prayer, and it was a moment, a healing moment at that moment for me. He said, "No one has ever done that for me," and so I gave him a hug, and the gentleman behind the counter said, "Ma'am, thank you. This made my day." And so when I got ready to leave, he said, I'm glad I told you how I was feeling because you made me feel better. So my whole point here is that empathy can come in all different situations. And sometimes people may ask you, to your point.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to read the situation, read the room, and just move it forward.
I mean, that's an excellent example of how that can show up differently than how I was thinking about it. And you know what, if it was you all the time going around giving advice, it could be unsolicited, because that is the reality. I mean, that is how you make people feel and how you help people through different things.
Well, people have helped me, and people have cared about what I was going through at given times, and people have treated me for the most part.
Yeah.
Really well.
Nobody's betting 100 over here.
Yes, right. And what my mom used to say to me all the time is that you can get through it.
Yeah.
You can get through it. And then we're going to get to it, whatever the next thing is. So because I'm purposely, I have chosen to be in the public eye for my adult life. And so, when you're in the public eye, things are going to come at you all the time. So you have to have a mindset that is going to allow you to be able to move through it. Because I'm going to tell you, I used to cry all the time because people would hurt my feelings. So I know what it feels like to have people to hurt your feelings.
Now, professional businesswoman, do you cry in public or do you cry behind closed doors?
Mother said, go into the ladies' room.
Okay.
And go into the stall.
Yeah.
And cry. Then dry your eyes. Get yourself together. Walk back out. Take on the world, take on the situation. And when you leave work, come home and see me.
Yeah. Well, I asked you that question because that's very much how I was raised. And that's also how I moved too. But I once had a boss who did cry.
In front of everyone?
In front of the team.
Wow.
Right? And I thought it was just really interesting, that it was an interesting approach. She was being authentic. Mm-hmm. It was how she showed up, and I found her to be one of my first examples of a really good corporate leader.
Okay.
But I was just, they caught me off guard, and I was like, that's really interesting. But it did cause, for the most part, the broader team to be able to open up and probably share things around our team dynamic, and it made our team ultimately stronger, I think. I was like, that is an approach.
Yeah, that is. And you all were genuinely able to care about each other because you learned something a little bit more about each other too, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay. I agree.
That's good.
All right. And the fifth one.
Yes.
The final component, according to Dr. Daniel.
Okay. All right.
Social skills. The ability to build and maintain relationships beyond the transactional.
And why did Dr. Daniel say that is important?
I mean, I not in his mind, but I would suspect that it has to do with the fact that businesses are made up of people, and it's people making decisions. And it's my experience has been that relationships drive everything, personally and professionally. And so the ability to navigate relationships and build relationships authentically can be really transformational in your life. And one of the things that I talked about in my workshop and we worked through was some ways that folks can reach out to their broader network beyond just a typical transaction. How can you show up a little differently in a relationship that might be important to you in business?
I think that's so very good to be able to understand that need and that connection. Ever since the pandemic, with people working at home and not gathering together, it's been challenging for that whole socialization piece to be as natural because you're not in the work environment. So how do you think you can overcome the fact that you're working in different spaces and yet you still need the socialization that you're talking about?
So I thrive in a remote environment. And I think it's in part because that's what I was trained to do. For a good amount of my career, I was working out of the DC office, and the headquarters were in other cities. They were either over in Europe, or they were in New York, or they were elsewhere. And so my ability to build relationships, not just with my colleagues in different states, but my colleagues around the world, required me to be able to talk and listen and be empathetic and lean into some of those other components that we've discussed. And so I do agree that the world generally has not had the work world, actually I think the world generally has not had a positive relationship to the challenge of socialization in remote work.
Sure.
But I think it comes down to retraining. And that's hard. I mean, change is hard for people, but it's also necessary. And the point that I always make is like, you can't go back. Like, we are in a different point in time now. It's like teaching somebody to read and then expecting them 5 years later to forget the value that they got from being able to read.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
That's not how this is going to go. So as we see like all of these rollbacks, and I know that there's a variety of reasons that that's happening, my baseline is that there's a new normal. And I believe that in order to progress, you just have to adjust the new normal and then move it forward in the best ways you know how.
In the best ways that you know how. So you have to be intentional. You have to make sure that you are connecting on different levels, and you have to keep trying, even when perhaps some of your colleagues are not as interested in the socialization piece as maybe necessary in order for the team to be able to succeed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we hear about really successful remote companies all the time, but
Sure.
then when you dig a little deeper, it comes down to their leadership structure and how do they build in some socialization at some point. And to your point, making it really intentional when folks come together. I mean, when I was in an office, I feel like there was some time wasted. Folks are like, but what about the water cooler conversations? I was like, I
Right.
you know,
Right. Yes.
I could have done without.
Right. Right.
So
I think there's another one. You've given the ones that Dr. Daniel had. I think there may be another value
beyond the 5.
beyond the 5.
Oh, okay. What is it? Teach me.
I think it's love.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not so much in terms of the work environment, but I think the having not only self-awareness and self-regulation and empathy and socialization, but also love. Love of yourself, love of what you do, love of the job that you're going to have the opportunity to do in the future that you don't even know about, but being able to feel love and express love in several different kinds of ways and loving each other in a certain kind of way. And it's expressed not only authentically, but it can be expressed in different ways. So think of the work environment where you might be able to have a friend that you didn't know was your friend, or you have a moment where you have the secret pals, or you have secret Santas, just ways that you express love and gratitude in the environment or to other people. I think that helps in terms of emotional intelligence, because we all want and need love, whether we know it or not.
I mean, that's an interesting, that one's interesting. The context of my presentation was business, and so I don't think I would have brought in love as it pertains to business, but I understand where you're coming from. But I hesitate to agree wholeheartedly, because the idea of love in the workplace in particular, or even like people referring to their workplaces as family, I'm like, is that really what it is? I do think that there's some value in separating the two. Someone was telling me the other day they were suspicious of this language around the workplace being family as well. And so their response was, are you in your boss's will? Like, how close is this family really? Just like give some perspective. But the ability to show up in all spaces, work and otherwise, with self-love, with love of others, obviously, is a very, very important trait to have.
Well, remember, I asked, how do you translate the lessons that you were talking about in the workplace to your personal life? So that's why I believe that love is a part of it.
I think that folks translate their personal lives into the work. Maybe it's vice versa. Maybe it goes both ways.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Good. Yeah. Well, interesting conversation.
Always.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing.
And we have the rose here that represents Rosa, my mother of 94 years. And I think if she was listening to us, she would say to me, so Ro Nita, when is the very first time that you experienced a special kind of love? Maybe a love that you had not maybe had before. And I was thinking about that. And I think April 14th of 1986,
Aww.
I had a love that I didn't know I had in my heart the day you were born.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's so true.
No.
So, yeah.
Thank you. That's very kind.
You're welcome. So I love you. Thank you, Rosa, for the lessons you have taught me.
All right. Thank you. See you all next time.